Welcome everyone. This is the account with another update for the war in Ukraine. Due to a request made by several viewers, I will be switching the order of the reports around a little. From now on, we will begin with the main flashpoints, go over the daily news, and then look at the UK Ministry of Defence Intelligence update and the General Staff report. Anyways, let's look at the main flashpoints. Bakhmut. While Russia had some minor successes in the last days, the situation in Bakhmut itself has not significantly changed. Claims made by pro-Russian sources that the city is effectively encircled are simply not true. Videos shared on social media are showing AHS crabs operating in the Bakhmut area. Nonetheless, the situation is tense and heavy battles continue. Petro Kuzik, commander of the Svoboda battalion, told reporters how his soldiers are staying in trenches full of corpses, fighting in extreme cold conditions and knee-deep water against Russia's attacks. When asked about Russia's losses, he said, "They are colossal. They don't even count bodies. The fields, the woods in front of the positions are all littered with corpses." Novoselivske. Footage of Russian soldiers inside the settlement suggests they managed to recapture it. This would be a setback for Ukraine regarding their push towards Svatove. Pavlivka. Heavy fighting in the city. It is reported Russian forces had to fall back in face of overwhelming Ukrainian assault. Allegedly, Russia shelled the settlement with incendiary ammunition to stop the Ukrainian advance. Latest reports suggest Russia might be pushed out of Pavlivka altogether. Kreminna. Serhiy Haidai reported Ukrainian forces were just a few kilometers from the city. At the same time, Russian sources claim Ukrainian units were spotted in the forest 2 kilometers south of Kreminna. And now for the daily news. The letter bombs sent to several targets in Spain in an apparent attempt of intimidation may have the opposite effect and push Spain to announce further support for Ukraine, including the delivery of 155mm shells, as Spain is one of the few manufacturers in the EU. While the investigation into the letter bombs is still ongoing, it was suggested Spain's extreme left-wing forces may be behind the letters. Russia hastened to distance itself from the letter bombs. Additionally, Ukraine's foreign ministry reported that bloodied packages containing animal eyes were sent to the embassies in Hungary, the Netherlands, Poland, Croatia, Italy, the consulates general in Naples and Krakow, and the consulate in Brno. We have reason to believe that there is a well-planned campaign of terror and intimidation of embassies and consulates of Ukraine, said Dmytro Kuleba, Ukraine's foreign minister. The Pentagon has signed a $430 million contract with Lockheed Martin for the production of additional HIMARS for the US military and international partners. Specific partners were not named, however, this is the first contract for production since April. In its latest assessment, the Institute for the Study of War reported about Russian movements in the Zaporizhzhia Oblast and suggested it indicates an inability to defend critical areas. The report stated, "The withdrawal from critical position may suggest that Russian forces cannot defend the entire front line in Zaporizhzhia Oblast and are prioritizing where to concentrate forces." During the night, several sources claimed Russia was actually retreating from a number of settlements along the front. However, during a briefing today, the mayor of Melitopol, Ivan Fedorov, said Russian occupiers are not yet retreating from occupied settlements in the Zaporizhzhia region. In Melitopol, their numbers actually increased. Russian forces targeted industrial and energy infrastructure in the city of Zaporizhzhia during the night. As a result, a fire broke out, but no casualties were reported. Due to Russian attacks, the base pumping station at the Kakhovka Main Canal was completely flooded. The report was made by Serhiy Khan, a member of the Kherson Regional Council. According to employees of the Kakhovka Main Canal Directorate, all underground premises located below water level were flooded. The result is interrupted water services in southern Ukraine. Ukrainian Special Operation Forces reportedly destroyed an important Russian electronic warfare system in the city of Polohi. Apart from creating obstacles for the defense forces of Ukraine, the invaders used the system to jam mobile communications in the settlement. In this way, they effectively cut off the citizens from communications with the outside world. The Lithuanian defense minister told reporters about the arrival of conscripts in the Kaliningrad enclave in a possible attempt to replace Russian military units withdrawn earlier this year. It was reported in April this year that Russia redeployed some of its permanent units stationed in Kaliningrad to eastern Ukraine in an effort to replace losses. Latvia-based Russian media outlet Medusa, citing two sources close to the Kremlin that spoke on conditions of anonymity, claims Russia is ready to hand over the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in return for uninterrupted transit of Russian oil and gas throughout Ukraine. As stated, the Kremlin and government are ready for an agreement since pumping and selling oil and gas is very important for the Russian budget. Dmitry Peskov, the press secretary of the President of the Russian Federation, rejected the claim. Spain has delivered the first Hawk anti-aircraft missile system to Ukraine, as reported by Oleksiy Reznikov, Defense Minister of Ukraine. The European Union has made a final decision to cap Russian seaborne oil at $60 per barrel. 8 people, including 5 law enforcement officers, were injured today in Odesa after an explosion of a grenade in a parking lot. The incident took place not far from a so-called invincibility center. When police stopped the car to search it, they found the device in the trunk and called for reinforcements. The explosion took place when they arrived. The Royal United Services Institute for Defense and Security Studies, in short RUSI, revealed details of Moscow's pre-invasion plan for Ukraine based on captured documents apparently signed off by Vladimir Putin. The documents revealed that Russia planned to capture Ukraine's power stations, airfields, water supplies, central bank and parliament, all within 10 days. As the underlying source material for much of this report cannot yet be made public, this should be understood as testimony rather than as an academic study. Given the requirements for operational security, it is necessarily incomplete. And finally, I want to mention an article published by the New Voice of Ukraine. It is titled, "The Diary of a Scout, First 100 Days of War." While very long, it is an interesting recount of the first 100 days of war through the eyes of a Ukrainian scout and his wife. I highly recommend checking it out as it includes never-before-seen footage from positions around Kyiv and the Donbas. And that wraps up the main news. Now, moving on to the UK Ministry of Defense intelligence update. Russia's withdrawal from the west bank of the Dnipro River last month has provided the Ukrainian armed forces with opportunities to strike additional Russian logistic nodes and lines of communication. This threat has highly likely promoted Russian logisticians to relocate supply nodes, including rail transfer points further south and east. Russian logistics units will need to conduct extra labor-intensive loading and unloading from rail to road transport. Road moves will subsequently still be vulnerable to Ukrainian artillery as they move on to supply Russian forward defensive positions. Russia's shortage of munitions, exacerbated by these logistics challenges, is likely one of the main factors currently limiting Russia's potential to restart effective, large-scale offensive ground operations. And now the evening report by the General Staff of Ukraine. The enemy is defending in the Kupiansk direction. In the Liman and Bakhmut areas, the enemy continues to focus its main efforts on conducting offensive operations. In the Avdiivka direction, the enemy continues to try to improve the tactical position. In the settlement of Mikhailivka, located in the temporarily occupied territory of the Zaporizhzhia Oblast, the enemy, in order to accuse the defense forces of Ukraine of destroying civilian infrastructure, set fire to the building of the Mikhailivske Higher Professional School. The enemy continues to suffer losses. Thus, on December 1st of this year, it was confirmed that the area where the enemy's manpower was concentrated in the temporarily occupied territory of the Zaporizhzhia Oblast, near the settlement of Kamyanske, was damaged by fire. The occupiers lost up to 100 wounded. In addition, on the same day, an enemy helicopter was shot down in the Kupian district of the Kharkiv Oblast. Between November 30th and December 1st, up to 70 bodies of dead occupiers were delivered to the city of Pavlivka, Donetsk Oblast, as a result of hostilities in the Bakhmut direction. And that wraps up today's report. If you want to read about individual topics in more detail, I have provided links to the articles in the description. Thank you for listening in and have a great day. This was The Account. Slava Ukraini.